I was on the set while they were planning the show, and he looked at me and said, "Nick, if you want to stick around and bother me, why don't you just put on the mask and walk around?" It was as simple as that.
Halloween, 1978. That legendary slasher film birthed a whole era of masked maniacs and final girls. Well, sit tight, because what you're about to hear will make you watch it with brand new eyes. Honestly, the hustle behind this film is almost scarier than Michael Myers, and that's exactly why it became one of the most iconic horror films of all time. Stick around till the end, I promise. These behind-the-scenes secrets will blow your mind. You really don't want to miss a single second. Number 20. The budget that birthed a horror icon. John Carpenter's groundbreaking horror masterpiece began with an astonishingly tight purse. While modern horror blockbusters command multi-million-dollar budgets, the original Halloween set a new standard for achieving excellence with minimal resources. The financial limitations of Halloween were extreme, even by indie standards. The film operated on a minuscule budget, ranging from $300,000 to $325,000. Most remarkable was how this money was allocated. Nearly $70,000, about 1/4 of the entire budget, went solely toward Panavision camera equipment. This left precious little for everything else, including actors, set design, special effects, and costumes. The production team's resourcefulness became legendary. The film grossed approximately $47 million at the box office, making it one of the most profitable independent films ever produced. This extraordinary return on investment, roughly 150 times its budget, transformed industry perceptions about horror's commercial viability. Halloween's success spawned countless imitators working with similar budget constraints. Studios realized they didn't need massive budgets, major stars, or elaborate production values, just compelling concepts and creative execution. This shifted the paradigm for horror production, opening doors for independent filmmakers with innovative ideas but limited resources. You think you know Halloween? Think again. Behind Michael Myers' silent terror lies a production filled with weird accidents, strange inspirations, and eerie discoveries that shaped horror forever. So don't blink, because these are 20 weird facts you didn't know about Halloween, 1978, and number 16 will leave you unsettled. Number 19. Michael Myers' mask was a Captain Kirk mask. One of the most recognizable villains in horror movie history wears a mask with a rather unusual origin. Unlike custom-designed masks created for modern slasher films, Michael Myers' iconic white face came from a most unexpected source: a discount store shelf. The terrifying visage of Michael Myers began as something far less sinister. Production designer Tommy Lee Wallace was tasked with finding a suitable mask for the film's killer. Given the extreme budget constraints, Wallace ventured into a local costume shop on Hollywood Boulevard called Burt Wheeler's Magic Shop. There, he discovered an assortment of masks priced at $1.98 each. Among them was a pale, expressionless Star Trek mask modeled after William Shatner as Captain Kirk. The simplicity and blank features of this particular mask caught Wallace's eye as something that could be transformed into something truly unsettling. The transformation from Starship Captain to Soulless Killer required several key modifications. First, Wallace widened the eye holes significantly, creating the hollow, shadowed look that became synonymous with Myers' emotionless stare. He methodically removed all the distinctive Shatner features, stripping away the eyebrows, sideburns, and detailed facial contours. The original flesh tone was covered with simple matte white spray paint, removing any remaining human quality. The final touch involved teasing and ruffling the hair to complete its disheveled appearance. These alterations stripped away all personality and familiarity, creating what the script described as the shape, a blank canvas onto which viewers could project their deepest fears. Number 18. Filming took just 20 days. The breakneck production schedule of the original slasher classic defied conventional filmmaking norms, becoming a legendary example of cinematic efficiency and resourcefulness. The entire filming of Halloween was completed in just 20 days during May 1978. This lightning-fast schedule was necessary because producer Irwin Yablans wanted the film in theaters by the Halloween holiday. The production was concentrated in South Pasadena and Sierra Madre, California, with locations carefully selected to maximize efficiency. Most remarkably, Carpenter intentionally saved the most complicated sequence, the opening POV shot, for the final day, knowing it would be the most time-consuming portion to capture. Interestingly, the accelerated pace yielded some of horror's most iconic performances. Carpenter developed a fear meter for Jamie Lee Curtis to use throughout the out-of-sequence shooting. This innovative tool helped Curtis calibrate her character's terror level from scene to scene, with specific facial expressions and scream volumes assigned to each intensity level. In contrast, Nick Castle's performance as Michael Myers required minimal direction. Carpenter famously instructed him simply to walk between markers and not act. This straightforward approach, born partly from time constraints, created the unnervingly mechanical movement that made the shape so disturbing to audiences. Number 17. Jamie Lee Curtis was paid only $8,000. Despite becoming horror's defining final girl, Jamie Lee Curtis received a surprisingly modest paycheck for her career-making role. Initially, Jamie Lee Curtis wasn't John Carpenter's first choice for Laurie Strode. The director originally wanted to cast Anne Lockhart, daughter of June Lockhart from Lassie, before ultimately taking a chance on the then unknown 19-year-old Curtis. For her breakthrough performance, Curtis earned only $8,000, $2,000 per week for 4 weeks, and was given a mere $200 to purchase her entire wardrobe. At the time, Curtis considered this a fortune. Moreover, the film that launched her career grossed an impressive $47 million at the box office. Following Halloween's success, Curtis's salary increased to $100,000 for Halloween 2. Thereafter, her paychecks grew substantially, reaching $5 million for Halloween H20, 1998, and $3 million for Halloween Resurrection, 2002, although she appeared only briefly in the latter. Indeed, Curtis once reflected, "Every good thing that ever happened to me was because I was in horror films." Perhaps most interestingly, producer Deborah Hill noted that casting Curtis created excellent publicity specifically because she was Janet Leigh's daughter, the actress famously killed in Psycho. This connection formed an unintentional yet perfect bridge between two iconic horror franchises, essentially creating horror royalty through generations. Number 16. The music was composed in 3 days. Behind the iconic sounds that made audiences jump lurks an astonishing revelation about musical resourcefulness. The haunting score that defined Halloween's atmosphere emerged from an extraordinarily brief creative burst. The film's entire soundtrack was composed in merely 3 days. Working at Sound Art Studios in Los Angeles with synthesizer expert Dan Wyman, Carpenter crafted the score without even watching the film, instead using only a stopwatch to time the sequences. The famous main theme originated from a bongo exercise his father taught him in 1961. Remarkably, Carpenter couldn't read or write music notation, yet created the soundtrack primarily through keyboard improvisation. He humorously credited himself as the Bowling Green Philharmonic Orchestra on the film. The music literally saved Halloween from obscurity. According to Carpenter, he once screened the film without music for a studio executive who declared it not scary. Nonetheless, after adding the score, the same executive praised it as terrifying. The theme's effectiveness stems from its irregular 5/4-time signature combined with dissonant intervals that create uneasiness. Additionally, the steady pulsing electronic rhythm underneath the melody suggests Michael's unrelenting drive. Currently, the Halloween theme ranks among cinema's most recognized musical motifs. Ultimately, it transcended horror, becoming a cultural touchstone. Jamie Lee Curtis made it her ringtone, whereas Kobe Bryant used it before games. Notably, it was among the first scary scores that people could actually dance to, eventually influencing an entire musical genre, synthwave. Imagine creating a horror film with barely any money, no Hollywood backing, and a mask found in the oddest place, yet it becomes one of the most iconic thrillers ever made. Halloween's story is almost as chilling as the film itself. Stay locked in till the final second, because here come 20 weird facts you didn't know about Halloween, 1978, and the last one still creeps people out today. Number 15. The film was shot in spring, not fall. In a bizarre twist of movie magic, the iconic autumn setting of Halloween wasn't filmed during fall at all. Halloween's atmospheric October scenes were actually shot during the spring of 1978 in sunny California. The 4-week spring production created immediate seasonal challenges. While portraying Illinois in October, eagle-eyed viewers can spot California palm trees lurking in several background shots. Carpenter initially wanted to change the trees to appear more seasonally appropriate. However, budget limitations prevented this creative solution. As a result, the film features an odd juxtaposition: ground covered with autumn leaves while surrounded by lush green springtime trees and foliage. The production team purchased paper leaves from a decorator and painstakingly painted them in fall colors. Tommy Lee Wallace, the production designer, personally painted dozens of bags of fake leaves that were reused throughout filming. After completing each scene, crew members diligently raked up the scattered leaves and transported them to the next filming location. Interestingly, Robert Englund, who later gained fame as Freddy Krueger, worked as a production assistant tasked with scattering these leaf bags for scenes. Despite these challenges, the crew created a convincing autumn atmosphere through clever visual techniques. They asked local children to wear Halloween costumes and positioned pumpkins carefully within scenes. Through strategic camera angles, sound design, and John Carpenter's atmospheric score, the film successfully evokes October's mood nevertheless. Number 14. The original title. Behind every iconic film title often lies an alternate name that could have changed everything. Despite becoming synonymous with the holiday itself, John Carpenter's groundbreaking slasher film reportedly began life under a different identity. Though producer Irwin Yablans later debunked the claim, stating that the film was always intended to be called Halloween. As the story developed, Yablans allegedly suggested centering the narrative specifically around Halloween night, prompting the title shift. This pivotal decision potentially saved the film from obscurity, as it immediately connected the story to the inherently eerie atmosphere of the holiday. In retrospect, the title Halloween proved ingenious from a marketing standpoint. Unlike it, which would have limited audience perception, the holiday-based title created perfect seasonal appeal. Furthermore, it established a framework for ongoing franchise potential, allowing for annual October releases that audiences could anticipate. As Yablans himself reportedly stated, the identification with the holiday is what made this thing work. Perhaps most importantly, The title change fundamentally altered Michael Myers' character development. Myers might have remained merely a killer, targeting a specific victim type. Yet, the broader Halloween concept allowed him to become the embodiment of faceless evil, a shape without limitations or clear motivation beyond the night itself. Number 13. Michael Myers was originally called The Shape. Long before becoming a household name, cinema's most feared slasher villain possessed a far more abstract identity. In the original 1978 film's credits, Michael Myers wasn't listed by name at all. He was simply credited as The Shape. This unusual moniker carries profound symbolic significance. Rather than humanizing the character, The Shape intentionally reduces Michael to a faceless embodiment of pure evil. Throughout the film, characters refer to him as the Bogeyman, yet the credits specifically identify him as this abstract form. The term reflects his nature as a blank canvas onto which viewers project their deepest fears, merely the outline of a person without humanity within. John Carpenter deliberately referred to Michael as the Shape throughout the screenplay. This choice stemmed from his desire to raise this Michael Myers character up to a mythic status, make him human, yes, but almost like a force. That can't be denied. Carpenter wanted to create a force rather than a person. Interestingly, this terminology parallels language used during the Salem witch trials, where the Shape described malevolent specters accused of causing harm. Although later sequels officially credited the character as Michael Myers, the conceptual essence of the Shape remained intact. Upon David Gordon Green's revival of the franchise, the credits returned to listing him as The Shape, preserving Carpenter's original vision of Michael as an elemental force beyond human understanding. From haunting real-world events to decisions that almost ruined everything, Halloween's secrets are as eerie as its villain. Don't go anywhere. These are 20 weird facts you didn't know about Halloween, 1978, and the ending will shock you. Number 12. One police car, many roles. The infamous station wagon driven by Michael Myers reveals one of Halloween's most overlooked production compromises. As the killer cruises through Haddonfield, eagle-eyed viewers have spotted several vehicle-related oversights. Given the film's shoestring budget, the production could only afford minimal vehicles for shooting. This limitation forced the team to reuse the same car throughout filming, hoping viewers wouldn't notice. Interestingly, this practical constraint inadvertently created several plot inconsistencies. The station wagon stolen by Michael remained highly identifiable throughout the film, as it still displayed its license plate number and even had a "for official use only" sign visible on the door. Evidently, Dr. Loomis fails to spot the vehicle despite it being parked mere feet from him while he watches the abandoned Myers house. In reality, Michael drives this conspicuous car in broad daylight without getting caught, even though it had been reported stolen. Dedicated viewers have noticed these vehicle-related discrepancies over the years. Curiously, most fans remain forgiving of these mistakes, understanding they likely resulted from the rushed 20-day shooting schedule. As one fan site noted, these errors are not noticeable the first few dozen times you watch the film, and ultimately don't take away from its enjoyment. Number 11. The opening POV shot was revolutionary. The haunting opening sequence of Halloween stands as a masterful technical achievement that forever altered horror cinema. This groundbreaking 4-minute single tracking shot introduces audiences to Michael Myers through his own eyes as he commits his first killing. This ambitious sequence was intentionally scheduled for the final day of shooting. Director John Carpenter anticipated its complexity, ultimately requiring a grueling 16-hour marathon session to capture correctly. Throughout filming, crew members frantically jumped through windows to reposition lights, scurried around corners, and dangled off balconies to remain out of frame. Firstly, the production team had to carefully manage what was visible through the lens, as the previously dilapidated house had only been partially restored. The revolutionary shot employed the Panaglide system, Panavision's early Steadicam variant, which cost an astonishing $70,000, nearly 1/4 of the entire budget. At that time, the technology was exceedingly new, with Halloween being only the second production ever to use it. The equipment proved extremely heavy, requiring 3 different camera operators to rotate duties, each unable to bear the weight for more than 1 minute at a time. Henceforth, the killer POV shot became virtually synonymous with horror cinema. By immersing viewers in the killer's perspective, Carpenter created an uncomfortable complicity that heightened psychological tension. The technique drew inspiration from Hitchcock's Psycho, yet established a distinctly new approach that countless subsequent slashers would imitate. Number 10. Donald Pleasence almost turned down the role. The critically acclaimed actor behind Dr. Sam Loomis almost passed on what would become one of his most iconic roles. After both Peter Cushing and Christopher Lee declined the part, with Lee later calling it the biggest mistake of his career, Donald Pleasence reluctantly stepped into the role that would define his legacy in horror cinema. Pleasence harbored serious reservations about the screenplay's quality. Upon reading the script, he found certain parts difficult to accept, believing people couldn't possibly in real life behave as written. He considered the dialogue a bit overwritten and melodramatic, especially regarding his character's lines. His hesitation stemmed from concerns about appearing foolish if the director's vision failed to materialize properly. Notwithstanding his initial doubts, Pleasence delivered a performance that elevated the entire film. His portrayal brought dramatic weight and conviction to lines that might have seemed absurd with a lesser actor. Through his nuanced performance, Pleasence vividly created the image of Myers's hollowness, adding psychological depth to the villain. His powerful delivery transformed Dr. Loomis from a standard horror movie character into an unforgettable force, battling pure evil. Number 9. Michael's breathing was recorded live. Behind that chilling sound emanating from Michael Myers's mask lies a surprisingly simple technique that added authentic terror to the film. The eerie, rhythmic breathing that accompanies The Shape throughout Halloween became one of its most unsettling audio elements. Unlike many modern films that add breathing effects in post-production, Michael Myers's distinctive sound came directly from the actor himself. The production team opted for a straightforward approach. They simply recorded Nick Castle breathing inside the mask in real time during filming. This organic method created a genuinely unnerving audio effect that couldn't be replicated through artificial means. The raw, unfiltered quality of the breathing gave Michael's presence an immediate psychological impact. As viewers watch scenes, they simultaneously hear his steady, unchanging breath pattern regardless of physical exertion, creating a disconnect that suggests something inhuman. This unchanging respiratory rhythm implies Michael exists beyond normal human limitations, further solidifying his supernatural aura. Number 8. The pumpkin was reused in multiple scenes. Creating Halloween atmosphere required pumpkins, but the film's spring shooting schedule presented an unexpected challenge for the props department. Filming in California during spring created a fundamental problem. Pumpkins weren't in season. Naturally, the production team faced a genuine pumpkin shortage. The film's tight budget ruled out creating artificial varieties, forcing the crew to improvise. Most jack-o'-lanterns seen throughout the movie are actually squashes painted orange to mimic pumpkins. Given the scarcity of pumpkins and budget limitations, The production team carefully preserved and reused the same painted squashes across multiple scenes. Props were meticulously guarded between setups and transported from location to location. Even the iconic pumpkin seen during the opening credits became a valuable resource that appeared repeatedly throughout filming. This creative recycling became a necessity born from the production's financial constraints. Number 7. The knife sound was made using a watermelon. Among the many DIY solutions employed during production, the sound effects for Michael Myers' brutal stabbings originated from an unlikely kitchen staple. The art of Foley, creating everyday sound effects, proved both economical yet remarkably effective for the low-budget classic. The iconic stabbing sound in Halloween came from something surprisingly simple: a knife plunging into a watermelon. This straightforward technique created the unmistakable sound of blade penetrating flesh. Given that half the film's $300,000 budget went toward Panavision cameras, the crew likely ate the props afterward. Uniquely, this resourceful approach yielded results more realistic than sophisticated modern methods. The watermelon technique succeeded because its organic composition mimicked human tissue remarkably well. The knife penetrating the fruit's tough exterior, followed by the moist interior, created texturally accurate sounds. Hence, this simple solution delivered the graphic audio impact that made Michael's attacks feel genuinely brutal without showing excessive on-screen violence. The surprises behind Halloween are stranger than fiction, and each detail gets crazier as we go. Keep your eyes glued till the end, because here are more weird facts you didn't know about Halloween. 1978, you'll never forget. Number 6. Nick Castle wasn't an actor. The man behind the mask was actually an aspiring filmmaker, not a professional actor. Nick Castle's connection to the project came through his friendship with director John Carpenter, whom he met while studying at the University of Southern California's film school. Nick Castle landed the role of Michael Myers almost by accident. Having zero acting experience, Castle originally visited the set simply to observe the filmmaking process. Carpenter offered him the part primarily because of his lanky physique and $25 per day salary, perfectly fitting the tight budget constraints. Interestingly, Castle accepted the role mainly to learn more about directing, as his true passion was behind the camera, not in front of it. Even today, Castle's performance defines how audiences envision Michael Myers. Beyond his original portrayal, he returned to don the mask again in the 2018 sequel, performing a cameo in one pivotal scene. Ultimately, Castle's inexperience paradoxically created something more unsettling than professional acting might have achieved: a truly blank, emotionless vessel for horror. Number 5. The film was almost rated X. Halloween's shocking content nearly earned cinema's most restrictive classification, almost preventing its widespread theatrical release. The boundary-pushing film walked a fine line between artistic expression and censorship concerns. The violent imagery in Halloween originally alarmed ratings boards. Several particularly disturbing scenes pushed boundaries. A masked man beating and impaling a boy on a sharp post with blood spurting through his face. A man's head being stomped until it shattered like a pumpkin, with flesh, hair, and bone scatter in pools of blood. And a woman shooting off 2 of Myers' fingers with dripping blood. Additionally, the film contained brief nudity and sexual content, including teens having under bed covers with thrashing seen and moaning heard. To secure the commercially crucial R rating, many violent sequences were strategically edited. Altogether, Carpenter relied heavily on implied violence, keeping graphic content mostly off-screen while maximizing psychological impact. This approach ultimately proved more effective than explicit gore. The filmmakers likewise toned down sexual content while preserving the narrative. Number 4. The Myers house was a real abandoned home. What many Halloween fans don't realize is that the iconic Myers house was an authentic abandoned building with its own fascinating history. The Century House dates back to 1888, making it one of South Pasadena's earliest structures. Originally situated at 707 Meridian Avenue, this historic building blends several architectural styles, including Midwestern Greek Revival, salt box, and East Lake elements visible in its gable ornaments. Historians consider it the city's first duplex, reflecting the architectural influence of settlers from Indiana. Subsequently, after filming, the house was relocated to its current address at 1000 Mission Street. Prior to becoming Michael Myers' fictional residence, the house had already been long abandoned. Fortunately, this deteriorated condition perfectly suited the film's needs. Yet, the production team still needed to make the facade presentable enough to appear inhabited. The crew whitewashed the exterior rather than using fresh paint to maintain its neglected appearance. Ultimately, in 1987, the structure faced demolition until South Pasadena Council member David Margrave purchased it for a single silver dollar, moving it 160 yards to railroad property. The inherently unsettling quality of the abandoned Victorian structure contributed immeasurably to the film's eerie atmosphere. To this day, the house stands as South Pasadena Cultural Heritage Landmark Number 34, currently housing Westland Financial Services. Countless Halloween fans continue visiting this cinematic landmark, often sitting on its steps to capture photos of horror history. Number 3. The ending was intentionally ambiguous. The final moments of Halloween deliver one of cinema's most chilling conclusions. After Dr. Loomis shoots Michael Myers 6 times, knocking him off a balcony, the killer's body mysteriously vanishes, a deliberate creative decision with profound implications. The vanishing act wasn't merely a setup for sequels, but a calculated artistic choice with deeper meaning. Michael's disappearance reinforces the concept that he represents fear itself, which can never be truly conquered. This unsettling finale refuses to provide viewers with comfortable closure, instead suggesting that the nightmare continues beyond the film's conclusion. Oddly enough, this ending that seemed shocking in 1978 would become standard practice for countless horror films thereafter. John Carpenter viewed Michael Myers as the embodiment of evil, a force of nature that doesn't know pain, doesn't know mortality, doesn't know surrender. Throughout the film, Michael is portrayed not as a person, but as the shape, an ephemeral entity beyond human understanding. Carpenter deliberately avoided explaining Michael's motivations, believing that the unknown itself is far more terrifying than any explicit explanation. Upon initial release, the ending provoked a genuine WTF reaction rarely found in horror screenings today. Many viewers left theaters genuinely unsettled, considering that Michael might still be out there. This ambiguous conclusion helped transform audiences into participants in the horror, extending the fear beyond the theater itself. Number 2. The film redefined the slasher genre. While not the first slasher film ever made, Halloween emerged as the definitive blueprint that transformed horror cinema forever. Its extraordinary influence stretches far beyond its modest origins. Halloween single-handedly launched the slasher boom of the 1980s, inspiring countless imitators. Sean S. Cunningham, director of the original Friday the 13th, openly acknowledged that Halloween's success directly motivated his film's creation, even calling his project a copycat. Above all, without Halloween's commercial triumph, iconic franchises like A Nightmare on Elm Street would likely never have existed. The film's $300,000 budget translated to approximately $70 million worldwide, proving that horror could be both artistically significant and financially lucrative. To this end, Halloween was selected for preservation in the United States National Film Registry in 2006, recognized as being culturally, historically, or aesthetically significant. By comparison, few independent productions have achieved such cultural permanence or critical respect. Michael Myers himself transcended film to become a recognizable cultural icon, whose blank expression continues representing faceless, motiveless evil. Number 1. The knife was sometimes real. Behind the menacing blade that terrorized Haddonfield lies a practical production secret. In Halloween, 1978, the knife wielded by Michael Myers wasn't always a prop. Sometimes it was the real deal. Considering the film's tight budget, the production couldn't afford multiple specialized prop knives. The knife used in Halloween was identified as a WR Case and Sons cut, Co. 100 2-12 model. Safety was still paramount, even with authentic cutlery on set. The crew established strict protocols for scenes involving the weapon, particularly for close-up shots where actors interacted directly with the blade. Director John Carpenter strategically alternated between genuine knives and safer alternatives throughout filming. For scenes requiring visual impact, the authentic blade appeared on screen, while shots involving actor contact utilized dulled edges or rubber substitutes. Essentially, this switching technique contributed to the film's notably bloodless quality. The genius of Halloween's death scenes is that the audience never actually sees the knife pierce flesh, mirroring Hitchcock's approach in Psycho. The occasional presence of real blades heightened actors' genuine reactions. P.J. Soles and other performers exhibited authentic tension, knowing a real knife was involved in certain scenes. Meanwhile, this approach aligned with Carpenter's vision of psychological horror over explicit gore. The minimal bloodshed ultimately forced audiences to fill gaps with their imagination, creating deeper fear than any special effect could achieve. With this, we have come to the end of this video. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, do well to like, comment, and subscribe for more content. To enjoy more thrilling stories, click now on the following video that pops up on your screen.